So tonight I got the opportunity to watch a very special free screening of a documentary in the city that I live in. This documentary is called Someone Lives Here. This is a Toronto-based documentary, so Canadian film, directed by Zack Russell, and this stars Khalil Seaveright. This premiered at the Hot Docs Canadian International Documentary Festival in Toronto, and this is the winner of two awards, including the Rogers Audience Award for Best Canadian Documentary, as well as the Bill Nempton Award for Best Social Impact Documentary, both awards from the Hot Docs International Film Festival. Basically, this film takes place in Toronto during the pandemic, and basically it's about the housing crisis and the homeless shelter crisis and lack thereof. And it's basically the journey of this carpenter named Khalil Seaveright, who I got to meet tonight as well, who basically took it upon himself to build what he calls mini shelters or mini homes for the homeless. And he started building these, which are pretty much self-insulated, and they're designed to have the person's body heat heat them and like keep the person warm inside, as as a way of survival throughout the winter, because the homeless shelters in Toronto are pretty much overrun. It's next to impossible to get into them, and even the people who do get into them suffer all kinds of dangers and uncomfortabilities, and are threatened on a daily basis. So it's really not an ideal place to be. So this guy took it upon himself to build these things, and they're basically insulated boxes. Essentially, they're basically cubicles, and they will hold a person with plenty of leg room and plenty of breathing room and all that. And they're not heated inside, but they, like I said, they're insulated in a way where a person's body heat will keep the person warm at night. And he built a ton of these, and he put them in a park in Toronto. And a lot of people were supporting him until the city got involved and started to shut them down and basically demand that they be destroyed. And, well, either pretty much by the end, they just ended up destroying them all and saying that these things can't be built and stuff. I think they tried to move them at one point, but at the end of the day, they just said, no, we're not, there's no room in the city. The city belongs to us, and we're not capable of having these things, which is extremely unfortunate, because, and doesn't make a whole lick of sense at the end of the day, because this documentary interviews some homeless in Toronto, some, showing their face, others not. And it shows the struggle of basically these everyday people. And it's a deep documentary. You get some good interviews with, like I said, some of the homeless and refugees and people who are very, they don't have too many options for a chance to survive the cold. And here comes this guy, Khalil, giving these people a great, phenomenal opportunity with a carpentry background. So he knows how to build these things and keep them insulated and warm. But the city just comes and, runs over the project completely and just says, no, we're not having any of this, because you can't have it on city property and stuff like that. And during the pandemic too, when a lot more people than average were ending up homeless, and the winters were bad. The winters are always bad in Canada, and the economy always getting worse and worse, even to this day, like 2 years later. It's just a shame to watch this documentary. This documentary was really well made by Zack Russell. I was really impressed with the way it was shot. It almost felt like a vlog, and I mean that in a compliment. It kind of felt like there was a lot of like cell phone use. I mean, I'm sure there was a whole camera crew and everything like that. Like, it didn't look cheap by any means, but it definitely felt personal, and it definitely, like, a lot of the interviews felt personal. A lot of the shots felt personal. And hey, if this documentary was completely made with cell phones, then even better. But I don't think it was. I'm just saying it had that vlog personal feel, and I really like that. And the biggest compliment that I want to give to this project is the voiceovers and the dialogue. Everything was crisp and clear, because there's a lot of documentaries with this this budget and this kind of theme that a lot of the dialogue just gets messy and inaudible, and sometimes there's like static in the background. In this case, it wasn't that at all. Like there was no bugs, no like glitches or anything like that, no background noise. Everything was crisp and clear and sounded perfect. There is some subtitles sometimes that they decided to add in for, people with accents and stuff like that, but even without the subtitles, you would still be able to understand everything that everybody is saying. And it's really cool to watch this guy's fight because he goes through a lot. The fire department got involved because these things were fire hazards and like safety proof, and because they were official shelters and they had to go through these like fire regulations which were completely ridiculous. At one point, to test the fire regulations, Khalil Seville takes this like massive ass flamethrower kind of thing and tries to light one of these things on fire, and it's amazing to see that these things won't even light. So the whole fire safety regulation is totally ridiculous. And in the documentary, he takes one to the front of a fire station, and I swear the audience that I was watching it with thought that this guy was just going to like call out a fireman and be like, "See, look, shh, this thing doesn't light on fire," but he doesn't. He just he kind of has it over there for the firemen to inspect and everything. But it was really cool to see that these things are actually fireproof, which is amazing and goes to show the ridiculousness of like the safety protocols and everything that the hard time that the city kept putting this guy through. And at one point, Khalil is like installing fire alarms in these things, which is just stupid to see. Like, why do you need a fire alarm in a box that's like basically the size of like two dumpsters next to each other, about as tall as like a person and a person's head kind of thing. And these things are self-insulated, so they don't even need heaters inside them, although one person did end up unfortunately passing away in one of them because they themselves decided to put a heater inside one of them. But aside from that, they're designed to be self-insulated, so they're not designed to be, you know, with heaters in them or anything like that. They're basically a door and a box, and they're meant to keep people warm. And they can even, you know, be put side by side without taking a whole lot of space. So the fact that the city was giving this guy Khalil such a hard time on this amazing, heartfelt and very intelligent and smart project, which he had the skills to do because he's a carpenter, and it even showed through the documentary like how he built them, how he insulated them, like really really cool work. Just a shame to see what the city put him through, and like it shows some like Skype interviews and him talking with the city and talking with the fire department and stuff like that, and conversations, and it gets pretty deep. Some of the backdrops and some of the title cards and some like the title cards and like people's names and stuff like that, they are very simple. It would have been nice to see maybe like a little bit more fancy editing, you could say, but that's like the most minor nitpick I could say about the documentary. I'm just like more of a flashy guy in general when it comes to cinema, but even so, even with the simplicity of all the title cards and all the subs and the lower thirds and everything, it didn't take away from the film at all. The film was exceptionally done in my opinion for what it was, and very professionally done. And again, I have to give compliments to the sound design and the audio, because the audio was top notch perfect, and I really really appreciated that. Because like I said, there's nothing worse with watching a documentary or anything really where you can't like understand what people are saying because they're fuzzy or mumbling or whatnot. But really cool documentary, really great interviews with like actual people who are living on the streets, refugees, their stories. One woman even at the beginning of the film was talking about when she ended up, on the street, freezing cold. She went, to the hospital to ask about assisted suicide, which is devastating. And the doctor was like, well, that's, a huge process. We can't just throw you in on the list. Like, you have to see a doctor, you have to talk to a doctor. Like, this could take years. And it just goes to show how desperate times, like the measures that desperate times can call for, and the the tragedy of everything and the desperation that these people get into so fast too. You know, even on top of a pandemic, to top it all off. But I really liked this, and I thought it was really interesting. Like I said, it premiered at Hot Docs in 2023. This would have premiered between April and May. I don't know where it's streaming. There is a website for the film though. It's called Someone Lives Here, and there is a website also for Hot Docs, so it's featured there, and it pretty much has an IMDb, so it's information on this film is pretty readily accessible, and I hope it's streaming somewhere. I would look for it, and I just don't know off the top. Like, I haven't found anywhere where it is for sure, so I can't name places to see it. But I definitely say go find it because it has a website, and I'm sure you can find it somewhere. So I definitely recommend keeping an eye on this, especially like if you're a Canadian audience, if you're near Toronto like I am. This one will definitely hit close to home, and even myself seeing so much more homeless on a year-to-year basis, it seems from 2020 to now, it's just grown exponentially. And the fact that this guy came up with a genius idea to help the situation and just got shut right down, it just it goes to show where politics are these days, and it is what it is. But this guy is keeping the fight, and he's not stopping, and good for him. Good for Khalil Seabright. Good for Zack Russell for putting this project together, and it's really good. Someone Lives Here, 2023. Go check it out somewhere. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I will be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.